What's up everyone, my name is Josh and this is Josh Unbox, and welcome back to the Daily Grind, a video series in which I talk about particular cards, plays, news, strategies, and how everything affects the overall sports card market. In other words, I'm just trying to find a way to help us navigate through the craziness that is the sports card world of today, as well as to help us make much more sound purchasing and selling decisions. And today I wanted to revisit the topic of this current boom in vintage older cards. Now, personally, I don't consider the 1996 cards to be vintage quite yet. I mean, they're older cards, sure, but for a lack of a better term, I guess I'll call it vintage, but even though I don't feel like it's vintage, because I just can't find the right phrase or the right term for those cards because they're like tweeners. But this recent run up in vintage, this past month of January has been crazy, and we've seen a lot of older cards just spike up in value. And the ones that have benefited the most are the ones of the greats, the GOATs, the iconic players, the iconic cards. This leaves me wondering, are we going to see a pullback? And if we do, when will we see a pullback? Now, there's two thoughts in my head as to when a pullback might happen. One of the obvious ones, and one thing that a lot of people are going to speculate upon, is once we get close to the playoffs, NBA playoffs. Once we get to playoff mode, we might see these cards start pulling back just a little bit, as people are going to start buying on guys who have a shot to make it to the championship, make it to the finals. People are going to start buying into either Giannis, LeBron, AD, Kawhi, Jason Tatum, whoever they feel has a legitimate shot of making it out. However, I want to present another idea or another point of opportunity as to when we might see the pullback in vintage. And this came to me as I was looking at yesterday's sales of NBA hoops. And I briefly touched upon it at the end of my video yesterday. I feel that once 2020-21 NBA Prizm comes out, I think we're gonna see a pullback in some of these vintage cards or older cards. And the reason being is because just seeing how much that Lamelo Ball hoops card is going for, $100 to $125. The question that's asked in my head is, how much is that Prizm card gonna go for then? If hoops is going for $125, how much will Prizm be? How much will those Prizm Silvers be? Now, let me paint a scenario here. Let's say I jumped in last year. I jumped in on the hype of Luka, Trey, Zion, Ja. I bought into some of those guys. I bought into some of those cards, right? I bought them at a good price. I was able to make profit, right? So I sold some of them, right? I sold some of those cards because I was able to make profit, if not all of them, and try to park my money into a safer play in a vintage set or a vintage card. Let's say I pulled all that money and I divvied it up amongst the 1996 draft class. We'll use that for an example. NBA 1996 draft class, an iconic draft class. Kobe, Ray Allen, Allen Iverson, Steve Nash. Let's say I bought PSA 10s of their Topps cards. All right, so now all my money is parked on those cards because I feel that buying vintage and older cards is a safe play. It'll have sustained growth over time. Now, all of a sudden, Prizm comes out and these Lamelo Ball cards are crazy hyped, and everyone's talking about it, everyone's trying to buy in on it, and here I am stuck because I don't have the capital or the cash reserves to purchase that card, and I really want to buy in on it. Now here I am looking at my Kobe, Iverson, Allen, and Steve Nash, and I'm thinking to myself, okay, I really want to buy this Lamelo Ball card. I really want to buy this Prizm, silver Prizm of his. Which one of these cards am I willing to let go? All right, I'm gonna hang on to the Kobe. I'm gonna hang on to this Kobe Topps card. I'm willing to part with my Steve Nash, my Ray Allen, and my Allen Iverson, so I can buy into a numbered Lamelo Ball Prizm card. You're gonna see an increase in supply in those older cards, and you're gonna see a demand shift to Prizm, right? There's a lot of people that think this way, and that's not gonna apply to everybody. The people who bought into vintage to truly invest into vintage are probably gonna hold. They're probably not gonna sell some of their cards. But you got a bunch of people who were buying in vintage because it's the hot thing. It was the next hot thing, and everybody was buying into it because it was cool. But now Prizm is out, and now everybody wants to buy into that. So I suspect that once Prizm comes out, we're gonna see a little pullback, because as these cards are gonna start trickling out, because people are trying to make money just to buy into these cards, we might see a little bit of a dip. Slight dip, maybe not a significant dip, but we might see a slight dip. Yeah, so I really think that there's two opportunities for a pullback. When the playoffs are about to start and everyone's buying into their guys to speculate on who will win the championship, and then when Prizm comes out because of the hype that Lamelo Ball's generating with his hoops card, for one, and once his Prizm cards come out and his silver Prizms come out, what's the demand going to be like for that? So there you have it. I mean, that's pretty much my thought process, and that's when I feel that I'll see a pullback in some of the older cards, and some of the cards that are as high as they are now might pull back a little bit. And you might see dips in certain cards too, like the 1991 Fleer Michael Jordan base card. It's going for a high price in the PSA 10. Now, if you were a person that wanted to buy into a Lamelo Ball card and you have that card, that Fleer card, and you have another iconic card, which card are you most likely to keep? That Jordan card, that Jordan base card is most likely going to be one of the first ones to go. Yeah, these are my thoughts. This is just what came to my head as I was looking at the Hoops cards yesterday. And I feel like there may be an opportunity, if you feel like you've missed a boat on vintage, to possibly see if there's an opportunity to buy during this time. Because yes, I think people are going to get hyped up with Prizm and they're going to look towards getting those cards. And if they don't have the cash or funds or reserves to be able to purchase those cards outright, they're going to look to move some cards. And as the prices of Lamelo Ball might be increasing, or as more and more people are buying it, FOMO will kick in and people are going to be looking to sell their cards quickly. So that way they can use that money to purchase said card. Whether it happens or not, I don't know, right? I'm just speculating to help kind of strategize on what I'm going to do when trying to buy back into some older sports cards, vintage cards. I mean, I could be right or I could be totally wrong. I hope you guys found some value in this. If you did, go ahead and hit the thumbs up button. If you haven't yet, please consider subscribing. I love looking into these things. I love talking about news. I love talking about strategy. I love talking about cards in general. So if you guys do enjoy this, please consider subscribing. It really helps out a lot. So with that being said, my name is Josh, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Later.